Hey, it's Armando with Security Owners Group. I know it's been a while since I've done a Business by the Bar episode, but I think it's time to fire these things back up, especially since Security Owners Group is getting ready to launch a tiered subscription-based platform. But there's a few things I wanted to talk about. Before we get started, I'm going to pick the whiskey and we're going to go from there, right? So today I'm doing Eagle Rare, and I have a 175, which I've been dying to open. However, I can't open it until I finish off this regular size bottle. So that's what we're going to do. There's that sound. I'm going to pour a little pour of this Eagle Rare in here. And we're going to finish it off. Most of that I'll hit after this video's over. So, am I the only one who gets grape Kool-Aid out of this? Anyways, the reason I picked Eagle Rare is this is a bourbon that is built right. It's there's no frills. It's a really solid whiskey, built for people who don't take shortcuts. They don't take shortcuts. It's done extremely well, but it's priced right, and it also, unless you're on the secondary market, then it's way overpriced because the perceived value is higher than what the MSRP is. So we're going to talk today about sales management, which is not as sexy as whiskey. So I don't know if any of you remember, but a while ago I interviewed Chris Peterson. And Chris is the principal at Vector Firm, which is a sales management and sales consulting firm for our industry, for the security industry. He is one of the sharpest minds in our industry when it comes to sales and sales implementation. But we talked about some things that a lot of people in our industry get wrong, and that is essentially what a sales manager actually does. So take a second and try to define that within your company, because as many people as are watching this, there's going to be that many definitions of what a sales manager does. And I'll spoil it, right? During our conversation, he broke it down into one thing. Drive top line revenue, period. But that comes with all kinds of caveats and asterisks. So if your sales manager carries a quota, for example, you don't have a sales manager. What you've got is a salesman with a whole bunch of extra meetings. So we don't want to do that. That definition, drive top line revenue, period. That means the sales manager is not selling. So I guarantee you, in most of the businesses in Security Owners Group, the 700 members we've got in the free group on Facebook, the owner is still selling. The owner is the manager. The sales manager is still selling. So I said that wrong. The owner is always going to sell, especially key accounts, but the sales manager is still selling. That's not how it's supposed to work. Your sales manager is not supposed to carry a quota. They're supposed to drive the team. They're supposed to be coaching. They're supposed to be teaching. They're supposed to be driving accountability. They're supposed to be having the weekly one-on-ones and the check-ins and solving the problems that the sales team needs in order to produce those top line numbers. But the sales manager is not producing those numbers themselves. Now that gets really hard if you've got a smaller business. If you've got less than 3 salespeople, sorry owners, you're the de facto sales manager. If you're not the de facto sales manager, then one of your sales guys or sales women is, and they're probably not the right one to be doing it. So take a couple of things to out of this video and think about where your business is and at what point you need that sales manager. If you've got less than 3 salespeople, you probably don't need that sales manager. You don't need the ego boost of hiring a director of sales or a VP of sales or a chief revenue officer or any of those titles. What you need is salespeople that produce, you in that role as sales manager, driving that until you get past that three salesperson limit. Okay, don't fall into the trap. The trap is take your best salesperson, make them your sales manager. That doesn't work because they cannot drive everybody else, and most likely your best producer is probably not your best manager. So we take the top salesperson, we make them a manager, we think it's efficient. It's not. It's actually poisoning the business. So what does that cost you? At the end of the day, the team that is supposed to be growing your revenue never gets coached. So the person who is the sales manager is also the salesperson. They're so worried about hitting the number, they're not worrying about the development of the individual salespeople. So That means the activities don't get measured. You don't count the number of leads that are coming in. You don't count the distribution of those leads. You don't count the close rate. You don't count the time to close. You don't count all of the other things that you're supposed to count in order to drive that total revenue. And instead, your sales manager is focused on driving their own sales because they feel responsible for it. We want to avoid that at all costs, okay? So Chris has a threshold, which I've already brought up. It's the 3 salespeople or more. That's the point at which you need a dedicated sales manager. So if you don't do that, you end up with one of those salespeople being the being your de facto sales manager, whether you planned it or not, whether they wanted to or not. And most likely what happens when they're doing that is they're feeling conflicted. The comp package is most likely in conflict with what they're doing day to day. They're supposed to be coaching and supporting and building your sales team, but they're paid on the sales they make. So you don't want to do that. So there's a couple things you can do if you haven't reached the point of having 3 salespeople, or if you've reached that point but you're not profitable enough. Number one, if you're not profitable enough, get in security owners groups, start asking questions, join a peer group, start doing all of the things that we all know we need to do, that we all hold each other accountable in that group. That's number one, drive profitability. Number 2 is you can outsource this through various different organizations. Obviously Chris, who I had that conversation with, Vector Firm, they do some of that stuff, outsourcing sales management. The most likely what ends up happening is you as the owner will be the sales manager. So when you look at what you're doing, you need to figure out which one of the 26 hats you have that can be moved over to somebody, can be elevated and delegated to something else. So move yourself into the position where being sales manager is the majority of your job. Pay yourself as if you're that, like I've talked about in some of my other videos, and set some money aside so that when you do go to hire the right sales manager, instead of promoting your top performing guy, you're bringing somebody who knows how to manage that, because it's a totally different skill set. If you remember some of the lines from Office Space, right? We want to avoid that. What we want to do is get somebody in there who can build the sales culture, who can identify what the common problems are that your team faces, because at the end of the day, when they start measuring things, those measurements are not about a flat standard for every performer. You're going to have some salespeople who just need to do more quotes. Their close rate is lower. They don't see the value in qualifying, so they throw everything out there that they can. If they get an opportunity, they put a quote out. Sometimes these are the same guys who don't follow up as much, right? But they still generate the right amount of revenue, the right amount of net profit. Sometimes you're going to have guys who don't produce nearly as many quotes, but have a much higher close rate and are therefore more effective, more successful in that way. And they're probably going to make more money with less work, but that doesn't make it any more right or less right than the guys who put out a whole bunch more quotes. Sometimes when you're putting out an awful lot of quotes, and you have fewer downturns than the guys who are putting out fewer, more qualified quotes. So there's a lot of things that you can do through there. My advice again would be join Security Owners Group, the free Facebook group. Once we launch our subscription model, you'll have access to all kinds of different SOPs, best practices, essays, guides, studies from other owners, all kinds of stuff like that. When your business is at the point that you can actually take the time away to join real peer groups, then suggest joining the Fig Jam Mastermind. If not, then join one of our quarterly mini masterminds that we do every year. These are the things that will help you run your business, build profitability. So anyways, the full interview with Chris is in the vault, which in August of 2026, we're going to launch all of that. So keep an eye out for it. And as always, cheers, and don't take shitty advice, okay?